And good morning. Sorry for a little bit of a delay, and we're going to double check in a second. We're not exactly sure if we're audio streaming just yet, but we're going to work on that. Good morning, Glenn Clark Radio. I am Glenn. He is Griffin. Busy Thursday edition of the program on tap. Today's show brought to you by the all-new Ginsu Kamado Grill. It's the perfect ceramic home grill or tailgate for grilling, smoking, baking, searing, all kinds of food. Use the code TAILGATE at ginsugrills.com and save $100. Ginsu Kamado Grill. Also, of course, when the Ravens return home in a couple of weeks, stop by the Game Day Firehouse, 1202 Ridgely Street, just west of the stadium. Sample the cooking from the all-new Ginsu Kamado Grill. Register to win your own, as well as $500 worth of grilling meats. Coming up this morning, Andy Katz is going to join us. Longtime college basketball voice, of course, now at Big Ten Network, Turner Sports, and the NCAA itself. We'll catch up with him. He was in College Park for the Maryland-Illinois game last Friday. Saw the Terps up close and in person. Discuss what Kevin Willard has done for this program. Also this morning, Kevin Harlan. He is on the call once again. He called the Ravens win over the Broncos on Sunday. He gets the Ravens again this Sunday as they take on the Steelers for CBS. Then later on, Mike Tannenbaum, former NFL general manager, now with ESPN. We'll get his thoughts on what the Ravens have done, how they've built this team. You know, we'll talk to him about some of this organizational philosophy stuff that we've talked about this week, as well as maybe how you handle the Greg Roman situation, all that. Mike Tannenbaum will join us later on. And it's Thursday, so we'll make our picks. And I pray to God it's got to be maybe this week will be better than the last. Ken Zalis will join us as well. So all that coming up on the program today. Last night, bummer, man. Towson was in it. Like, they had a chance to get a big win on the road, but unfortunately fell 80-75. Obviously nothing to hang their heads about. It was a hell of an effort and a great chance to get a win. And to be fair, and we were kind of talking about this with Patrick Stevens, it's not like Towson beating Clemson suddenly gets them on the radar for an at-large berth to the NCAA tournament. There's on a practical level, it's largely irrelevant. It's just it's bummer because it was a game you had a chance to win. And that would have been a cool thing to sort of show the fan base, like, look, we're going and winning on the road against an ACC team that's played really well this season. Might be time to start showing up for some games. Would have been a good sign. Try to go about selling some tickets and packing the arena a little bit more, but such is life.
They did hit a big three, massive three at the very
was that,
at the
did they
very
get a cover?
End. Yes, they did. It was +7, and so they were
realize
down by
that.
8.
I did
made
not
it a 5-point
that.
game.
That is very important.
Yes.
There is no way around it.
But yeah, I mean,
important.
I mean, Jason Gibson was hurt, so he wasn't available. They had a freshman point guard playing the whole game, and then Charles Thompson was in foul trouble. So I mean, they
played well. They played well. There's nothing to be ashamed of. Just a bummer because they could have won the game. It's like what I talked about with Maryland the other day. I think that's a conference game, so it matters. It actually matters, right? But like again, does it really matter? No. Because Maryland lost to the road. Towson's season will have nothing to do with what happened at Clemson last night, like at all, in any way. But they had a chance to win, and when you have a chance to win and you don't do it, it's a bummer. There's just I can only say it so many ways. It's a bummer to have a chance to win a big game and not win it. So such is life. Such is life. Now, Ravens got on the practice field for the first time yesterday as they get ready for Sunday and the Steelers. Number of players did not participate in that particular practice, including Kevin Zeitler suddenly showing up on the injury report with a knee injury, which, considering, again, he'd be on the short list for Ravens MVP. When I kind of said it flippantly yesterday with Drew, I kind of thought about it for a second afterwards. I was like, wait a second. What would that MVP voting look like at the moment? Because like, obviously, the beginning of the season, it would have been Lamar. Then maybe you would have argued it was just Mark Andrews because it was just Mark Andrews. I think certainly after that stretch before the bye, it would have been Justin Houston. But I think at the moment, Marlon Humphrey would be the Ravens MVP. I think he's been their best player from start to finish this season. But I don't think Kevin Zeitler would be far behind him. I think Kevin Zeitler would be I think right now, like if I had to vote, Ravens MVP would be Humphrey 1.
Tucker.
It infuriates me.
Yeah.
He's won it, which is kind of comical, right? Like it's comical that Justin Tucker's ever been MVP. But I got it. Like when I'm trying to think of the year it was half a combination of everything else about the team. Like if you don't have any good options and you have a great kicker, just make it the great kicker. They've got good options this year. They've got could Justin Tucker be on the list? Sure, he could be on the list. But unlike some years, they have really good. Like Marlon Humphrey is a really good candidate for Ravens MVP.
They should make it Greg Roman.
Okay,
people would love that.
Yeah, they don't do it that way. It's not like when we do pats on the ass. Not like that. I think the answer is Marlon Humphrey. I think it is. But Kevin Zeitler would certainly be on the list. And yes, don't know what to make of the fact that suddenly he doesn't practice because of a knee injury. That's concerning to say the least. They'll monitor that. Most of the guys, the Justin Houston's, the Calais Campbell's, it was a vet day. Devin Duvernay got a rest day, which is weird. Patrick McCary didn't participate, which is about as relevant as what we make of Ronnie Stanley, because Ronnie Stanley was a full participant in practice. That's the first time that's happened. Hopefully, that's a sign that Ronnie Stanley is ready to go on Sunday. If not, it's pretty concerning that Patrick McCary didn't participate in practice yesterday. So those two things you have to kind of monitor together this week, both Ronnie Stanley and Patrick McCary, which isn't to say that Patrick McCary can be Ronnie Stanley, but if for some reason Ronnie Stanley doesn't continue to fully participate in practice all week, you'd at least like to have Patrick McCary as your backup plan. So that's what was relevant from the injury report yesterday. Again, Ronnie Stanley being probably the big Lamar Jackson, I guess, is the big story, but I think most of us had made peace with the idea that Lamar Jackson is not playing on Sunday. So the next one would be Ronnie Stanley, who, again, did practice and was a full participant in practice yesterday. So hopefully that is a sign that he is trending towards being ready to go. Now, before we talk about the Orioles briefly, I really quickly want to cover that there's a big event coming up on Saturday at the Timonium Fairgrounds. The Baltimore County Police Department is hosting a community hiring event and an annual toy and food drive this Saturday from 2 to 6 at the Maryland State Fairgrounds. If you are thinking about maybe changing things up, police officers' starting salaries are $60,686. And if you know someone who's maybe like fresh out of high school, kind of didn't know what they were doing this semester, maybe taking a gap year that you got a funny feeling is about to become a gap decade. If you know someone who's young and looking for direction, the police cadet starting salary right now is $32,611. Plus, there's a $10,000 signing bonus right now. You can apply on site. Find out more. Join BaltimoreCountyPD.com. And they're looking for non-perishable food items and new unwrapped toys. Please bring them out this Saturday to the Maryland State Fairgrounds as the Baltimore County Police Department is hosting their community hiring event and toy and food drive. If you can't make it out on Saturday, through next week, you can still bring non-perishable food items and unwrapped toys to any of the area precincts in Baltimore County, as well as to Glory Days Grill right here across the street in Towson. I want to be careful. So the big one today, I guess Xander Bogaerts goes to San Diego. The Padres tried to give insane money to anyone that would take it this offseason. They tried to give it to Trey Turner. Trey Turner didn't want their insane money. They tried to give it to Aaron Judge. Aaron Judge didn't want their insane money. So instead, they just turned around and gave absurd money to Xander Bogaerts. I don't know, man. If you got it, whatever. It ain't my money to spend. But, boy, did they – I mean, my word. Like, what is their payroll? And for Xander Bogaerts? I get it. You can only give money to the players that want it. But
someone tweeted out their lineup, and so Fernando Tatis will be playing right field for them.
Right field is the plan for Tatis.
Yeah.
All right. I mean, I guess they're coming off the injury.
They got Trent Grisham in center, and then their infield's pretty good.
Yeah.
So.
I've heard good things. I heard it might be all right. So that still leaves Carlos Correa out there, obviously. Dansby Swanson is still out there at shortstop. Now we come to the Orioles. And disappointment for a fan base that, again, was basing the offseason around the word liftoff. And with much happening at the winter meetings will close today. I've been there. The final day of the winter meetings, there's nothing happening. It used to be that today was the day of the Rule 5 draft. I guess they moved it to Wednesday last year, this year. I don't know when they moved it to yesterday, but it was yesterday. The Orioles did select someone in the Major League. By the way, that also not a great look, if I'm being the Orioles don't have to hold on to the player they selected. I can't remember the guy's name, the player they selected in the Rule 5 draft. They can offer him back, and this can be nothing other than let's bring him into spring training, see if he's worthy of a spot on the roster. But this should no longer be a team that's giving away roster spots. This should be a team that has moved past. I've said this a billion times. When you stink, when you're going through a rebuild, absolutely use the Rule 5 draft. Who knows what you might find? I mean, you might find something of value. The truth is the Orioles haven't found Anthony Santander is about the list of what the Orioles have found of value through the Rule 5 draft. Spare me Ryan Flaherty. Everybody likes Ryan Flaherty. Great dude. But he wasn't a baseball player. He was a guy. I mean, he was no more than a replacement player. Great guy. And I know he's a beloved figure, and I like Ryan Flaherty a great deal. But spare me the idea that it was worth wasting a roster spot for a year in order to have Ryan Flaherty around. You can find a different Ryan Flaherty the following year. Anthony Santander was worthy of a Rule 5 pick. The Orioles have very rarely found someone that was special. Jeremy Guthrie once upon a time, Anthony Santander, rarely. But when you're a bad team that knows you're going to be bad, it's worth it. It's worth using a roster spot on a Rule 5 pick. Because who knows? And you're not going to use the spot for much of a better reason anyway. So why not let it be for someone that you are taking a flyer on? When you're trying to compete to go to the playoffs, the roster spots are too valuable. When you're trying to compete to be a playoff team, when you expect to win, there should be no Rule 5 pick. That shouldn't happen. I'm opposed to it. Andrew Politi, by the way, is 26-year-old? 26-year-old?
How old was Santander when we got him?
I don't remember. Not 26. I don't think there's any chance in hell that he was 26. According to Rock Kabako, Politi is an undersized right-hander with a high-effort delivery. He features a three-pitch mix led by an average four-seam fastball that sits 93, 95 miles an hour and touches 97 at peak with a – Jesus. Somebody might say, hey, you don't really – what can it hurt? It's not like you have a bullpen loaded with legitimate Major League arms right now. Again, understanding that if he's not worthy of being there, you have to be willing to let him go. You can experiment with it. That's the best argument that somebody – I always do this bit where I argue against myself. I want to make it abundantly clear. My opinion is you don't waste Rule 5 spots on – or roster spots on Rule 5 picks when you're competing and trying to win. That's bad business. If they're going to do it, they have to understand that the moment it's clear that this person can't help you win this season, they've got to go. Gotta go. No, well, yeah, but you never know. Maybe you could be helpful. No, they got to go. And I would like to think that given it's a 26-year-old, that they probably understand that. I mean, I hope they understand that. I pray they understand that that's the way it's got to be. Man, that is I didn't realize he was 20. What the hell is that? Honestly, what the hell are you doing adding a 26-year-old Rule 5 pick? Anyway, the bigger issue is that the week's going to come and go without the Orioles doing anything of significance. And, of course, that's going to lead to overreaction from the fan base, which, as we've talked about, has set up their opinion of this offseason based around this word, liftoff. A couple of quotes from Mike Elias yesterday. Mike Elias trying to be pragmatic. I don't think it's going to play well. I mean, I think that it's not going to be popular. Some of the things that Mike Elias had to say, essentially suggesting that they don't want to mess up 24 and 25, where they think that they have their best chances of winning, based around what they might be able to do in 23. And it's twofold. One, it's probably correct. It's probably the right thing to do. And it might be an explanation of why, when some of us thought that 1 year for Cody Bellinger would make a lot of sense, they might have internally said, that doesn't actually make sense for us. There's been a lot of reports out there that the Orioles are looking to do, if they're going to sign a pitcher, they want it to be in the 2 to 3 year window. That covers 24 and 25 and doesn't dip their toes into the long-term pitching market. 24 and 25 are probably the more practical years. I kind of wrote about that at the end of the season for Pressbox's print issue, that when we talk about next year, I was never as sold that next year was the year. I still think there's way too much to be determined about this roster. I still, as I've said a million times, I don't know exactly how many position player spots we know with certainty are guys that are going to be here when we think the Orioles are taking that next jump. I think there's any number of them that can. Cedric Mullins can. Anthony Santander can. But with certainty, don't know. Don't know how the Orioles feel about that. I think this year has to start kind of sussing that out. And you have to start kind of figuring out exactly who is, who isn't going to be a part of it moving forward. I still think the Orioles must do something to upgrade this roster this season. I think it's a giant kick in the you-know-whats to every player on that team, to every fan in this fan base, to just come in and say, yeah, we had this great season and outperformed expectations, and hopefully we can do it again next year with no fortification at all. And I'm not talking about Carlos Rodon and Carlos Correa or bust. Of course, those being the guys that are still out there, the Carloses. But something that shows upgrade, something that shows we attempted to fortify and give a better chance to the roster beyond just saying, well, Adley Rutschman and Gunnar Henderson are going to be here for the entirety of the season, which, of course, we think will help, provided they don't experience any sort of sophomore slump. Of course we think that's going to make this team better. But some sort of outside help, anything that fortifies the roster, they still have a responsibility for that. That's something this team needs to do in some form or fashion. If it's Chris Bassett, if it's Sean Manaea, fine. Anything that adds a little bit of oomph, whatever you want to call it, anything at all to make the fan base say, okay, the franchise is on board. They're trying to win. Today's show also brought to you by UMBC Basketball. Retrievers back at home. They have been hot recently. They are back at home on Saturday night to take on Morgan State. Great local rivalry game. And then the big one on New Year's Day, rematch of the America East Championship game against Vermont. The UMBC women host American on December 18th. Experience game day at the Peak. Get your tickets, umbcretrievers.com. Let's talk a little college basketball right now. Our next guest, of course, a veteran college basketball reporter and analyst. He's with Big Ten Network. You saw him in College Park on Friday when Maryland beat Illinois. Of course, he's with the NCAA and Turner and You name it, you see Andy Katz just about everywhere you look these days, and right now you see him with us here on GCR. Andy Katz, it's Glenn in Baltimore. It's great to chat. Thank you so much for taking a couple of minutes for us this morning.
Yeah, no problem.
It's obviously it's a very exciting time. Maryland, of course, lost on the road at Wisconsin, but that game on Friday night, you were there, that atmosphere, that electricity. I think everybody loved your post-game interview with Kevin Willard and in talking about going and getting 9 or 10 beers. It seems to be that there's something exciting brewing in College Park at the moment.
Yeah, there's no question. I mean, I think back to the last game that I physically was at the Xfinity Center, because I'd done some Maryland games on the road, neutral sites, and remote during COVID. But that, I'm almost positive, the last time I was at the Xfinity Center was for the Maryland-Michigan game a week before the world shut down in 2020.
Yeah.
And I would say, because at the time I was doing sideline for Fox for that game, and I would say that atmosphere rivaled that one. And, obviously what happened in between is, incredibly difficult for everyone, but, certainly for Maryland fans. I understand the apathy and just trying to get it back. But that was a tremendous atmosphere. I don't think that's the last time. I think it's only the first time. I think we're going to see comparable atmospheres throughout the course of the Big Ten home season. And it's all about the product, how they play, and the talent on the floor. And there's no question that Kevin Willard has done a great job thus far of putting the pieces together. I think what he told us at shoot-around on Friday, I think, was critical, which was to find the right transfers to complement the guys that made the commitment to come back. Because that's, plenty of times when there's a coaching change, regardless how the previous players felt about, their former coach, whatever, most of the time these guys move on. And he got sort of the big three to stay, or they wanted to stay, and Dante Scott and Hakeem Hart and help me out when I'm trying to play here.
Juju Reese.
Yes, thank you, Julian Reese.
Yep.
So those are the sort of the big three that decided to stay. And, he told us that he was not going to recruit over them, that they was going to complement them. And that's why, someone like Jameer Young was perfect to come in and, basically be that lead guard, that playmaker, that spot shooter, and not taking any shots or, specific shots, I should say, within the system or minutes from those other guys. And so far the chemistry is great, and you could see it. I saw it certainly late night, talking to those guys, seeing them interact after in the locker room and everything. And, the game the other night, that's just going to be the Big Ten on the road. I mean, I think it's been incredibly hard for teams to win on the road, for teams, I'd say, eight and up. We saw last night Michigan State win at Penn State. Obviously Northwestern, for whatever reason, has Michigan State's number. And Michigan State has obviously depleted injury-wise. But I think for the most part, it's going to be difficult to get road wins from teams that are going to finish somewhere in that 7 and 8 and up.
Yeah, I think that's very fair to say. Andy, I think what I'm struggling now with is what is a reasonable expectation? Because coming into the year, and we talked about a few times with Kevin Willard, right? Like we joke about how did Iowa State last year screw it up for every first-year head coach, that now like there's just this belief that you can go from 2 wins to the Sweet 16. And I think everybody was doing a good job of tempering expectations. And I think there was this feeling of, hey, if you can just play relevant basketball and be in the bubble conversation and, the games might matter, that would be a good first step. Well, then they roll off 8 straight wins. They beat good teams in Miami and St. Louis. They get this great win against Illinois. What should the expectations be at this point? Like, what do you make of all sides of what now it's fair to think this team is capable of doing?
Well, I will say this one. I want to pause and say in 2 weeks' time, we're going to know a lot more.
Yeah, they got to cover some really big ones. Yeah.
With UCLA coming in and then the Tennessee game at the Barclays Center, if they were to win both of those, now you're talking about a resume that's like a 2 seed, in early January. And then what that does do for you is it gives you breathing room to lose some games in the Big Ten, which they will do. I mean, let's accept that. They will lose games in the Big Ten like everyone else, save maybe Purdue, because of Zach Edey. So they're going to lose Big Ten games. But if they win these two games or even just split them, I think that changes the narrative. If they've got a win over UCLA and or Tennessee or both heading into the Big Ten, that is really significant for Maryland going forward.
Yeah, I tend to agree. Our buddy Patrick Stevens said the same thing. You go 2-2 in this stretch, like, it really affirms what you are as a basketball team. Andy Katz is with us here on GCR. Andy, are you concerned still at all about their depth, right? Like, Ian Martinez has really played well and given them a lot, but it's really bleak after him, right? Like, there is not a lot there, and particularly front court depth, there's almost nothing. Are you concerned about that as you talk about the grind of a Big Ten season, that for all of the good they have, that there is a danger that might catch up with them at some point?
Yes, and I think that's a fair statement, and we're seeing that already. With Michigan State, I think is a prime example. When with Malik Hall down, they've certainly been very inconsistent. Jaden Akins is just coming back, and they've had to throw in some ready for it, and they lost some games that maybe they would have won. And so, whenever you take over a program, that is going to be a big issue of depth. One of the first you got to keep your guys filling around, and sort of the third thing is, do you create depth? That's kind of rare for a first-year head coach. So, yes, it's a major concern. If they suffer injuries, it will definitely affect them. So, but so far, thankfully everything's going well for them.
Yeah, correct. Again, like to say it's a concern, that doesn't mean for certainty that it's going to end up wrecking the season. It's just something that I think it's going to be tough, and it's something to monitor. Andy, can you quantify?
And I just throw this out, we just saw this with Michigan. I mean, Jalen Llewellyn just suffered an ACL in their game in London on Sunday against Kentucky. And he's a player they were counting on. He was starting. And so that is going to affect Michigan going forward, their depth and how they're going to handle it.
Yep.
And, then now they got a game tonight at Minnesota that you would assume they would win. But now they're coming off this 2-game slide and coming across from London, and now they're down a guy. So tonight's an example, for a Michigan team. Oh, they should beat Minnesota.
Right.
But wait a minute. Here's what's just happened. Here's what's the injuries. Here's what their schedule's been like. So now suddenly maybe they lose this game that they weren't supposed to lose.
Yeah, and speaking of front court depth, when you bring up Michigan, I think about Purdue, and I'm like, oh God, if Julian Reese gets into foul trouble against those teams, it could be really problematic because of what they present up front. That could be troubling. Let me, if I could, Kevin Willard himself, right? It's easy. The vibes right now are great in this area, Andy, and I know that's somewhat a silly catchphrase that we use these days, but I'm sure you understand what I mean. I'm not here to criticize Mark Turgeon in any way, but the vibes weren't always great in this area over the last few years, and right now the vibes are wonderful. But just from a coaching standpoint, just from on the floor, the zone switch up on Friday, to me, had a lot to do with what happened in that game. So did Jameer Young, of course. Take nothing away from the players, but it felt like there were some serious coaching things that happened in that game to slow the pace down when it was kind of going crazy early on. Can you quantify from a coaching standpoint what Kevin Willard is doing early on beyond just, hey, winning basketball games is good and gets people excited?
Yeah, I mean, look, I think Mark Turgeon's a good coach, and he's proven that. It didn't work there. He didn't connect there for whatever reason. Is it personality driven? I'm not sure. I mean, obviously, there was a disconnect because I would challenge people who would say, oh, Turgeon, think about that 2-year span. That game, if I think it was LSU, that came down to that one bucket in the last possession. They win that game. Now suddenly you're advancing further, and then. I know it's a game of what if, but I firmly believe that 2020 team had the potential to go really far in March. No question about it. And it struck me also when we were watching an in-game type video for Maryland during the game in-house, and you see the number of NBA that have come through during this time. The Kevin, Herder and Fernando, and so they definitely had talent, but there was definitely a disconnect with the fan base, and obviously it did not go as well the previous year, the bubble year, I guess you'd like to, for lack of a better term. But Kevin obviously has proven himself to be a very good coach. Seton Hall, I think, is an incredible, probably one of the worst in Newark. It's hard to get students there. The on-campus facilities are, low level, and he did a great job. And so he's a really good coach, and I think people like his fiery personality, and I think it's a good match. I mean, I thought, we had heard Kevin Willard from the beginning. The other name, obviously, was Andy Enfield, and to me, it felt like Maryland was going to be fine either way, whichever direction they went. I firmly have believed it's one of the best programs in the country because of where it's located, the talent. Obviously, the Big Ten connection now has helped. Some old guard ACC fans may disagree, but seeing that, the average could end up being around 9 NCAA tournament bids coming out of the Big Ten for the foreseeable future, and I do not see that in the ACC.
Interesting. Really interesting that you bring that up because, as you know, there are still people around here that aren't over it. But, as I've said a million times, you win, you start to forget all about those things. Andy Katz, what's on the docket for you? You're a very busy man. Where you headed? Where we seeing you?
This weekend, I am back in studio, and then I know you'll all be watching. We got to televise these games. We got the Prairie View Northwestern game.
Hell yeah.
Sunday. I'll be doing that one. Post-finals week, and then the following weekend I got Indiana, Kansas, as well as some Big Ten Network.
Well, that's a pretty significant.
Still a lot
one.
of stuff going on.
Yeah, that's a big deal. That's a really big one. Andy Katz at the Andy Katz on Twitter is how you follow him, and of course you'll see all of his stuff all over Twitter. He is. I see your face nearly as much as I see my wife's. It's very strange this time of year. I don't know how to explain it. Andy, really appreciate taking the time for us this morning, man. Thanks so much for doing it. Would love to catch up later on in the season.
Okay, thank you.
Andy Katz with us here on GCR. Appreciate him taking the time. Hey, if you are still thinking about signing up and maybe you haven't taken advantage yet of some of the great offers, encourage you to get the PressBoxOnline.com/offers right now, and you can take advantage of sports betting offers like $200 in free bets from DraftKings after you place your first $5 bet, or $1,000 in risk-free bets from BetMGM. Time is limited to get the best offers from all of the sports books, so go to PressBoxOnline.com/offers and sign up today. When we come back in, Kevin Harlan. He's calling the game on Sunday. Ravens Steelers. It's Ravens Steelers. Well, I mean, it's kind of Ravens Steelers. Like it's technically Ravens Steelers. It's the name of the two teams that are playing in the game. Is it Ravens Steelers? I don't know. It might be reminiscent of some old Ravens Steelers games. The final score might be very Ravens Steelers-esque. We'll talk about that with Kevin Harlan, the great voice of Sunday's game for CBS. That's on the way. It's Glenn Clark Radio.
Gambling can be a fun and entertaining experience, but there are risks involved. If you're planning on betting on the game at the casino or on your phone or computer, know your limit, stay within it. Set a budget and a time to stop. Remember, gambling isn't a financial solution, and it doesn't mix well with alcohol or drugs. Know the risks and have a plan before you begin gambling. For free and confidential services, call 1-800-GAMBLER 24/7 or go to helpmygamblingproblem.org.
That first sip. That first bite. Start your day off right with a delicious breakfast at Royal Farms. Choose from a fantastic selection of fresh Royal Farms breakfast sandwiches and top it off with a rich hot cup of the freshest coffee in the world. At Royal Farms, breakfast is available day and night. It's the freshest breakfast in the world. Real fresh, real fast. Royal Farms.
What's up, everyone? This is Tyus Bowser, and I'm excited to tell you that I'm back for Season 2 of the Tyus Bowser Show in partnership with Pressbox and Great Ace Memorabilia. Join us on Tuesday nights throughout the season as I'll be heading all over town with my special guests, and of course, our co-hosts, Glenn and Rita. Or is it Rita and Glenn? What is it? I look forward to meeting you guys and talking a little bit about football and a lot about life. And if you happen to miss the show, you can now catch a replay Friday nights on 105.7 The Fan. Get all of your details for the Tyus Bowser Show right now at PressBoxOnline.com/Bowser.
The next Tyus Bowser Show is Tuesday, December 13th at the Hamilton Sports Bar and Grill, 5506 Harford Road. It's brought to you by Maryland Vascular Specialists and the all-new Ginsu Kamado Grill.
Sports betting has come to Maryland, and we're ready to help you win some money. Tune in for Simply the Bets every Tuesday morning at 11:40. FanDuel Sportsbook GM Leon Twyman and VSiN's Aaron Oster join the guys every week to give you all of the info you need and offer you a few winners. And every other Thursday at 11:40, tune in for Weekend at Bookies as Andrew Stecca and Alloy Sports' Brad Kronthal help make you some money for the weekend. So come win some money with us on Simply the Bets every Tuesday and Weekend at Bookies every other Thursday. Brought to you by the FanDuel Sportsbook at Live Casino and Hotel Maryland. Listen at PressBoxOnline.com/radio. Watch at YouTube.com/PressBoxOnline.
The weather outside is really unpleasant, so it's time to warm up with some comfort classics this winter at your neighborhood Glory Days Grill. Try the Twisted Ribs and Wings combo. It's 2 full pounds of meat, the mac and cheese bites, Mr. Richards meatloaf, the citrus salmon, the winter spinach salad, and for dessert, here's internet radio personality Griffin Bass to tell you about the bourbon butter cake.
Oh my God, it's so good.
Pair it with a blood orange bourbon cider or a devil's backbone cranberry smash. Place your order now at glorydaysgrill.com. Glory Days Grill. Great food, good sports.
Check out Jeremy Kahn's daily picks at PressBoxOnline.com as he tries to find you daily winners. And speaking of winners, here's a man who once won a media curling contest. And I don't think anything else. He's Glenn Clark.
Man, I always get a little... it always bothers me a great deal. I have one other... I mean, I don't know if you heard. I won the Baltimore County Police agility test.
Oh, you won it?
Yes, I was the. It was
were
man.
the very best.
It was man versus test.
Oh, okay.
And man won.
So you got a P for pass. And that's
I got a check. Is what I got. I'm a cop. I'm not sure if
that's-
you're aware.
oh, okay.
I got some bad news for you. The Toyota Tacoma comes in a range of models and trim lines. You can choose the perfect Tacoma to reflect your unique personality and driving habits. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new Tacomas from your local Toyota dealer today. Want to thank a few more of you that got into the bowl pick. Although oddly, like Griffin, for example. Look at Griffin coming through. Could you share that with your friends, please? By the way, could you
sure.
could use a few more people. It's for charity. I'm not sure if you. I used to get on. Somebody brought this up 2 weeks ago. I used to unmercilessly beat up Kyle for not sharing things, and I haven't done that with you. And they're not wrong. Like, I used to kick the crap out of Kyle. We're doing a major charity event. Could you please try to put the word out to the people in your life a little bit more to get involved with it? Like,
Yes.
That would be a good thing. We're trying to help a charity here in the Helping Up mission. Sorry, I'm not trying to derail the show. It was brought up to me. I don't remember who brought it up to me. They were like, "Dude, you used to like kill Kyle over that." I was like, "Yeah, I guess I did do that. I don't know. I maybe Griffin's more of a delicate flower, and I'm trying to come along with him a little bit more."
Thank you.
But Griffin got in. I get disturbed because I look and not everybody has registered their picks yet, or at least even signed up yet, and because it looks like nobody's signed up. People have signed up. We've had like a better response than we did originally. Ryan Flanders got in. Susan Johnson got in. Kelly Sanford. Appreciate Kelly getting in. John from Little Rock got in this morning. Love that. Still have room for you. What we're doing is a 50-50 college football bowl pick'em. Very simple. It's winner gets half, Helping Up Mission gets half. Couldn't be easier. $20 to get in. Glenn Clark, $180 on PayPal. Glenn-Clark on Venmo. $, Glenn Clark Radio on Cash App. Send me $20. And I know it's not for me. That money will go. We've got a deal worked out with Target and White Marsh to make the money go a little bit further. We will go to Target and White Marsh, Drew Forrester and I, not this weekend, the following weekend, and we will be purchasing toiletries, underwear, and other items that are needed for the folks at Helping Up Mission. So send me the $20. Hit me up, either glennclarkradio@gmail.com, at glennclarkradio on Twitter. Say, hey, just sent you my money. We will send you the link, password for you to get in. Make your picks. All you're doing is picking outright winners of all the bowl games. Whoever gets the most, and there is a tiebreaker, whoever gets the most, one person will win half of it. So whatever the pot ends up being, you get half of it. The other half goes to Helping Up Mission. So it's a win-win. You might win a bunch of money. Worst case scenario, you donated $20 to charity, which pretty good thing to do this holiday season. So $20, again, Glenn-Clark on Venmo, Cash App, $ Glenn Clark Radio, and PayPal Glenn Clark 180 to get in for our Charity Bowl Pick'em contest. Please go ahead and get that done today. Had to do this a little bit earlier on because of his very busy schedule, but it is always a pleasure to catch up with the great Kevin Harlan here on GCR. Man, it's been great news for us in Baltimore. This man's kind of got a residency going with the Baltimore Ravens right now. He was on the call this past Sunday, and he's going to be on the call again this coming Sunday for Ravens Steelers on CBS. He is the legendary, the great Kevin Harlan, and he's with us now again here on GCR. Kevin, it's Glenn. It is always so good to catch up with you, my friend. Happy holidays to you. Thank you for taking the time for us.
Happy holidays to you too, Glenn, and all your listeners, and thanks for inviting me to come on. Always enjoy talking about the Ravens and all things Baltimore football. It was a gutty win the other day. You know, those are hard games to play. You know, they are against teams like that, which are really kind of like the Broncos, or they're kind of all over the place, and then you lose your left tackle, and you lost your second string left tackle. Now you're in your third string guy, and your quarterback is gone, and yet they still kind of kept it together and came up when they had to with a drive that made sense, and sure enough, they get a win. So that's what they take into Pittsburgh with them.
You know, what do you make? Obviously, it's a completely different scenario now because Tyler Huntley is going to have to play at least this week, and we'll see about maybe beyond that. But Kevin, we talked earlier in the year, and we're talking about Lamar as being an MVP candidate, and you know how much the offense was clicking. They lose one wide receiver, and it looked still good in those Thursday and Monday night games, right? They were running the ball again dominantly and racking up time of possession. But out of the bye, it's just been kind of sloppy and kind of a mess for the most part. Is it as simple as saying this is what happens when you're thin at receiver and you lose the one guy you had? Is there something you can put your finger on? You know, you bring up Ronnie Stanley. Clearly, we know they're a much different team with a healthy Ronnie Stanley. How do you put your finger on just kind of how weird it's looked these last few weeks out of the bye?
Yeah, it is hard to explain, isn't it? Because everything seems to kind of fit. You get the big name linebacker in a trade. Humphreys having a Pro Bowl season at the back of the defense. All these different things seem to be kind of connected, and yet, the team is staggering to score, and Lamar's performance had been down. Now he's injured, and it's hard to. He came out the first 3-4 weeks of the season. Holy smokes! Like this is going to be something. He is on a mission, and then kind of things settle down, and now they've kind of maybe become what they are, and without that, you mentioned the receiver. Without speed on the outside or anything to kind of tilt the defense a little bit, take some prominent guys who cover the best that the other team's offense has to offer. If you take that out of the equation, it becomes now, a different kind of defense you're facing. Now, listen, we know Andrews has not been completely healthy, and he's not at the top of his game. He can be, and maybe he'll trend that way as we wind down the regular season. But surely, they realize that, trying to patch the thing up with Deshaun Jackson, who is, listen, I get it. He had a 62-yard reception the other day. He's got speed. I think he brings a presence, and sometimes at receiver, that's all you need is just something to just preoccupy, make their eyes kind of look sideways and go, okay, what's he doing? Where is he now? And I think that's kind of, I think that's one of, it's never one thing. It's always a lot of things.
Sure.
I would certainly agree with you in that standpoint that you miss a name receiver, Bateman being out, that hurts. That definitely hurts their offense.
I think the part that we're trying to figure out, Kevin, is I think it's easy to assume. To your point, the defense has been outstanding. You bring up Marlon Humphrey, he's been a rock star. Roquan Smith has been as advertised, fortunately, because, boy, in the moment, it did not look good for Patrick Queen on Sunday, but fortunately, it's just a bruise, and he's all right and practicing this week and is going to play, which is wild from where we were feeling with him being carted off on Sunday, right?
Glad to hear that.
No doubt.
To hear that, yeah.
But as well as the defense is playing, I think there's this feeling of, if you're going to be able to compete, first of all, you got to get there, but if you're going to be able to compete with the teams you need to compete with in the AFC playoffs, you're going to have to get a little bit more out of the offense, and you're hoping that you get some of these guys back. I just, it's hard to feel good at the moment about the trajectory of the offense given everything they've been through.
Look how deep Cincinnati is at their receiver position. Now that Chase is back, got Higgins. I mean, Boyd, you've got some guys there. Like they've got those three. They send those three guys out, even just Chase alone, just as a lone ranger, and he goes out there. I mean, everybody on the defense, where's Chase? Where they're looking around. That's how it was with Tyreek Hill in Miami, and before that in Kansas City. And Kelsey certainly too. And when Andrews was at the top of his game and healthy and playing like the tight end we know he is, he had that. There's a semblance of that, but speed on the outside and that kind of receiver that just makes a big difference, and it helps the quarterback too. It makes everything else roll. Jackson is running well. We know that he'll come back from this injury, and I think he'll be as good as he was before. But it's December football, and John told us the other day, Glenn, that it's kind of a different mindset. It's kind of like, all right, we're digging the trenches. We're gonna make sure that we are taking care of the ball. We're going to be tight on offense, and we're going to control the clock. We're going to play with our world-class defense, and I kind of think that's the recipe they're going to use. And I don't know how much they're going to miss this weekend with not having Lamar there. I think the team will be energized to play for Huntley and to be in back of him and support him, knowing it could be a week or two. And I think they realize after going through what they went last year with all the injuries and the drop off the edge of the table and just how the season ended, that they will look at this now with most of the team pretty healthy. That they can go in there and they can play, very connective football. They can play all three phases, have them complement each other, and maybe not have, as you say, the rock star on offense, especially with Lamar gone at the running back or certainly at the receiver. But they can collectively make this thing go. And so if I'm a Raven fan, I'm always optimistic. If my defense is intact and my offense has the skeleton there, and we know we're going to get the quarterback back, and we've got some health at running back, and you do, Dobbins, I think, is close. I think he's very close. That is good. Dobbins, if you're looking for that rock star, that might be, as I'm sure you've talked about, a guy on the radar. Now, I don't know if he's going to be what he was a couple years ago. I don't know what he's going to be like when he played for the month earlier this season. But I do think that he is a motivated guy, and he could bring that extra, dimension that you're talking about, that your fans are looking for, that could kind of bring it all together and paint the complete picture, even without the great A-class receiver, not to demean anybody, but not having that just game-breaking wow guy, the Jamar Chase type of receiver that can clearly change a game.
He is the legendary Kevin Harlan. He's with us here on GCR. He and Trent Green once again this Sunday for Ravens Steelers on CBS. Kevin, obviously, you know quite a bit about Ravens Steelers. You've been intertwined with this and lots of games over the years. I wonder, as a broadcaster, this is Ravens Steelers, but it's not, Ravens Steelers, right? Like, it's not Ray Lewis and Ben Roethlisberger and Hines Ward and Jerome Bettis and Ed Reed. How do you handle that as you're handling a game? Like, knowing this is a historic series and a rivalry that's meant a lot, but you can't fake it and pretend like it's exactly the same as how do you handle that as a broadcaster, wanting to play into the significance of Ravens Steelers, but not, you can't lie to people and tell people it's something that it isn't.
Right, of course. And there aren't many Hall of Famers perhaps with the two current teams. And you rattle off some historic, legendary names that have made this particular series so good. Being in the division always means something, and that is a great place to start. Pittsburgh's got a little momentum now, and they really like their quarterback. The quarterback, Pickett, is not like a wow physical, like quick twitch, like this like ultra athletic guy. But what he is, he's a field quarterback, and he kind of has an interesting way of going at it. You know, we're so locked in on the Herberts and the 6'6" and Lamar with you know, uncanny speed and moves, and you can get dazzled by that stuff, and that's great, and that's fun to watch, certainly. But Pickett kind of comes at it from a different angle, and so he brings his own set of kind of quirky yet interesting and I think intriguing things to that position. It's been kind of a volatile thing. Even when Ben was there, they knew he was going. He was just a shadow, as we all saw his last year. But it was Ben Roethlisberger, who's probably going to be in the Hall of Fame, right? And he's a historic guy with big numbers, and he's had big games against the Ravens and vice versa. But this game has its own, you know, significant parts. We've mentioned Humphrey. You talked about Queen, and there's Calais on the line, and the other wonderful parts. And there are so many of them on that defense. But I'd like to think that these guys live in that world of representing what was, and still two teams that are in it, and Baltimore is in first, and, you know, they've got a ton to play for. And basically, overall health is pretty good. And Pittsburgh comes in with a couple wins in a row, and they're kind of feeling good about themselves because everyone was writing them off. And Tomlin, I don't think, has had a losing record in his 14, whatever it is, years he's been the head coach of the Steelers. And they reflect a lot of what he's about. And this is his time of year, too. He loves December football. And he thinks his Steelers are their best at, you know, this point of the season when they've had a lot of roster changes, a big turnover, you know, and just a lot of different things going on with that team. Watt is back and healthy. At least he was when I saw him Monday night a couple weeks ago in Indy. Hayward, we know what he is on the defensive line. Fitzpatrick is a world-class safety. They've got the same kind of parts. They're not as deep and not as varied as the Ravens, but as we know, the difference between a 4-win team and a 6-win team, or a 5-win team and a 10-win team, is not much. And we know on any weekend it could change and go either way. So I think this game in December, with a lot on the line for both teams, Pittsburgh trying to still, you know, get in there and fight, and that's a proud franchise with proud players, and your team, which is showing, you know, resilience in the face of losing some pretty foundational pieces, the quarterback, the left tackle. I think, and not having much, as we talked about at receiver, I think that this game will have all the intrigue and all the nice emotion and passion that perhaps the other games have had in this series without the big headliners on the marquee outside the stadium.
What's interesting to me, Kevin, is it feels like it could end up being one of those kind of classic Ravens Steelers. Like it 16-13 feels about right for this type of game on Sunday. Like
I like that. I like that.
It just sort of reminds me, maybe it's not Ray Lewis, maybe it's not Troy Polamalu, maybe it's not those guys, but the way these teams have been playing, and, you know, given that you're lining up Tyler Huntley and trying to keep everything in front of him, it just sort of has that feel of maybe an old school type of defense first. Field goals aren't the end of the world football game on Sunday.
Yeah. Two coaches, two very good coaches. I mean,
obviously,
right? I mean,
yeah.
You can't ask for anything better in getting teams ready for a big December game in the division in a place like Pittsburgh or Baltimore, wherever it was going to be, than these two coaches. So I like the feel of it. Yeah, it doesn't have the powerhouse, Hall of Fame, legendary, generational talent type of guys that we've seen, but I think their fingerprints still reside on these players, and they know what they're playing for. You know, Steeler Week is a big week for the Ravens, and vice versa. So they'll and again, we're talking about a first place team. We're talking about a team that leads the division and is trying to, you know, keep away Cincinnati, which is what we thought they would eventually be once Burrow got his health back and his body back after the, you know, emergency appendectomy. And Pittsburgh, even though they're closer to 500 than they are anything else, I still think they're a rugged team. If you're close to 500 and they're, you know, not at 500, but they've got that feel of a team that wants to still make a move. And by God, if they're not going to get in, they're going to make sure everybody knows they played them and they were rising at the end and maybe even, running into next year. They're using a rookie quarterback in a big game like this, and he is not blinking. He is not blinking at all. And I think I'm Tomlin. I'm feeling pretty good about my first-round rookie quarterback.
Kevin, you're the busiest man in show business, obviously. You got about 1 million things when you're not doing NFL games, doing NBA games. You're not. What else is on the docket for you in the coming days?
Well, I'm right now in that thing about CBS Saturday NFL TV, Monday night radio for Westwood, and then NBA on Tuesday. So it's 3 games, 3 nights, 3 cities, and geographically none of it makes sense. This past week was Baltimore, Tampa, and Denver.
Right.
This week will be Pittsburgh, Phoenix, and LA, Lakers and Celtics. Next week is going to be Chiefs at Houston, Rams at Green Bay, and then Memphis at Denver again. So, like, none of this, like, if you're drawing, if you're connecting the dots, you go, like, what kind of a whack job is putting this thing together? Like, this makes – but and I would be lying if I said that, this time of year, it gets a little, it drags a little bit, but I am always energized Sunday when I go into a stadium like I do in downtown Baltimore, or I'll do this weekend in Pittsburgh, and talking to good people like you in these cities. I'm doing the same thing in Pittsburgh this week with a show like yours, and they love the NFL, and to be around people that love the NFL is the greatest motivating factor at all. Like football in Baltimore and football in Pittsburgh, it means something.
Yeah.
Like it
religion.
It means, yeah, it is. And I listen to these fans right outside our broadcast window when I'm in your stadium, and they know what they're talking about. They know exactly who's playing. They can name the third string, the fifth guy in the secondary. They can name the seventh guy in the secondary, the third string left tackle. They know all this stuff. So when it means that much to those people, it certainly better mean a lot to us, and it does, and that's what makes it so energizing.
Sometimes it means so much that it can be dangerous, and you have I got to be honest. I did a little yelling on the radio the other day, Kevin. I wasn't very proud of myself in that moment. I got a caller on.
What were you yelling about?
Kevin, we got a call on the postgame show over on. We're on 105.7 The Fan. We get a call on the postgame show, and it's about somebody says that John Harbaugh needs to be held accountable, and I snapped, right? Like I just snapped, and I have no problem I have no issue criticizing people. This is not everybody gets a free pass all the time. And I just sort of snapped and said, "They're 8-4," and I just kind of kept repeating it and yelling, and I legitimately lost my mind for a second. Where I said, "Look, I got no problem talking about the team struggling offensively. I got, we can talk about decisions that are made during the course of a game." But I don't know why it was that somebody calling in saying John Harbaugh needs to be held accountable. I said they're 8-4. All they ever do is win.
Know, in first place.
Right.
First place in a division where a team in the division last year made the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, they were AFC champions.
Yes.
So listen, I get it, but it's what makes your job so fun, because emotions are always high. Who wants to be in a job where you're just doing where there is no passion?
Yeah, that's a great point.
Right. No one cares.
Yep.
And everybody cares about football.
It keeps us employed. I know that much. Kevin Harlan, it is always a thrill. You go out of your way to make time for us every time you're involved with the Ravens, and you have no idea how much it means to me. Truly appreciate you. Glad we get to hear you again on Sunday, and look forward to the next time already. Thank you very much, my friends.
Thank you, Glenn. Happy holidays to you, and thanks for your invitation to be on and visit. And I look forward to our next talk. And I think it's going to be a fun game this weekend in Pittsburgh. I'm looking forward to being there, and we'll be thinking about you and all your listeners that'll have a lot to say on your show after the game. I'm going to have to tune into that as I'm going to the airport.
It's Kevin Harlan checking in with us ahead of Ravens-Steelers Sunday on CBS. All right, hour number 1 of today's show is in the books. Still great offers to be had when you sign up for sports betting right now. If you go to PressBoxOnline.com/offers, you can get $100 in risk-free bets. Sorry, $100 in free bets from Barstool after placing your first $10 bet, or up to $1,500 in risk-free bets from Caesars. Time is limited. They're not going to offer these deals forever. Got to go right now to PressBoxOnline.com/offers in order to take advantage of them. Let's continue to talk some Ravens this morning. Joining us now, a man you see all the time on ESPN. He is, of course, former NFL general manager Mike Tannenbaum, and he's back with us now here on GCR. Mike, it's Glenn in Baltimore. It's great to chat with you as always. Thank you so much for taking a couple of minutes for us.
Good to be with you.
Mike, it's a strange time right now in Baltimore, and I feel like there's a lot of panic over a team that is still for 8-4 at this point and still sitting in first place at the moment in the AFC North, but a lot of conversation being had about how the Ravens have handled their work kind of building around Lamar Jackson or lack thereof. And it's something that I've spoken about ad nauseum. This team has had a philosophy of we're going to run the football. They've kind of devalued wide receiver in the process, and they've won. They've won a lot of football games, but they're not in a good place at the moment, and it doesn't feel like they're a serious threat to win a Super Bowl. Where are you with how this team has handled these 5 years with Lamar Jackson before he came up for a contract, and whether they did right by him or did right by what was best to try to win a Super Bowl?
Yeah, look, they've been a really model organization, very consistent, and specifically as we look at this year, there's a great axiom that not all injuries in the NFL are created equal. And what I mean by that is, Rashad Bateman getting hurt has really hurt this team. He was a young ascending player and unfortunately out for the year. And they went out to try to sign Deshaun Jackson, and, he may be an okay Band-Aid, but, clearly they need to add another receiver or two. But, when you look at the investments in the offensive line, the running backs, the tight ends, there are good players around Lamar. But clearly the receiver position would be an area where they could add, a player or two.
Yeah, I think it's pretty fair to say that. Is it something? Is it fair when we look and we say, hey, in Philadelphia, they knew that they had this opportunity, they went all in, and the Ravens didn't really? Is that a fair criticism to bring up with this team, or do you think? No, they went about doing it a different way just because they didn't go out and get A.J. Brown. It seems glaring to look at something like that and say, isn't that what you're supposed to do with a young and extraordinarily talented quarterback?
Yeah, and they added skill players. Mark Andrews is one of the best tight end. I think Isaiah Likely has a chance to be really good. Look, Philadelphia's had a great offseason. There's no two ways about it. But, again, this season isn't over. And, we'll see. Look, I think they do need to add a receiver, but that doesn't mean that the rest of the parts of the offense aren't good.
Here's Mike Tannenbaum. He is with us here on Glenn Clark Radio. Mike, you bring up the season's not over, and it's sort of a weird conversation that we're having at the moment, right? Because there's concern. This team has not looked right coming out of the bye offensively. Going into the bye, they were dominant. They had the ball for 40 minutes a game, basically, against the Buccaneers and the Saints. They looked like what we thought the Ravens wanted to look like. What do you make of is it as simple as saying, hey, this is what happens when you lose a J.K. Dobbins and a Ronnie Stanley, and if you can get those guys back, you'll be okay? Or do you think there's a bigger problem going on with what the Ravens have looked like offensively in the 3 weeks since the bye?
Yeah, I think it's more of the former, not the latter. You can get back a really good left tackle who's had massive durability issues, but he's a good player. And J.K. Dobbins is a really good running back. When you look at these teams coming down the stretch, that's why a lot of teams are talking to OBJ. You say to yourself, how can we get better post-trade deadline? And Baker Mayfield getting claimed, OBJ getting these visits. They're all similar sort of methodologies of trying to get better after the trade deadline. So every team has its strengths and weaknesses. We've talked about where the Ravens are so much short, but to get back two good players certainly can help their chances.
So you still think there's time? Like if they were to get back Lamar in a couple of, I think we're assuming it's going to be 1 to 2 weeks, but if they can somehow, even split those games, stay afloat, and keep that, last week of the season in play to try to win the AFC North, if they get back a Ronnie Stanley this week, if they get back J.K. Dobbins, are you still of the belief that this team can get this figured out to contend with the Chiefs, the Bills, the Dolphins, the Bengals, and reach the Super Bowl?
Yeah, absolutely, because they have a great head coach. They have a good defense. And, again, nobody's perfect in the AFC. We just saw Von Miller go down for the year.
Right.
Kansas City's defense is far from perfect. Buffalo also lost, Micah Hyde. And other teams, Jamar Chase missed a chunk of the season. So every team has had injuries. Miami's offensive line is beat up. So, again, there is no perfect team in the system.
The Bengals looked awfully good when they got him back, however, for what it's worth. They look kind of scary at the moment, as that will be Week 18 for the Ravens, taking on the Bengals in Cincinnati. Mike Tannenbaum with us on GCR. Mike, there's this other awkward thing that's kind of going on right now, and I wonder if you could give me an inside look at how an organization handles this. With Greg Roman, who's, been maligned a bit within this community, but has certainly done a lot of good, and they've won a lot of games, and they've had good offenses. He's in play for the job at Stanford, and could you give me a peek into what these conversations look like, how an organization prepares and plans for something like this? Do you have to, if he's in the mix, do you have to say, hey, we're going to let you go? Do you have to say, hey, you can take a job, but you got to finish the season out? Like, what does this look like when something like this is going on?
Yeah, and every organization deals with it. You want your coaches to get interviews. That's a great sign of progress. So I'm sure they have no problem with that. The timing of college jobs now are, that's a little tricky. Like if he would get one, I remember one year when Charlie Weiss became the head coach at Notre Dame, he was trying to do both jobs. So you want your coaches to be in demand, and then you just figure out the best solution if and when they get the jobs. Sometimes they stay, sometimes they leave.
So is it we saw a report this week the Ravens brought in Willie Taggart, right? And nobody knows why. Like it was just he was there to visit the Ravens. Is it possible that they could be looking at, hey, let's have somebody else in the building just in case we lose Greg Roman and there's still some time left in the season?
Yeah, that's exactly right. It's smart. It's just planning. It's being proactive. You don't know how things are going to play out, and you want to have depth everywhere. We talked about Ronnie Stanley coming back, J.T. Dobbins coming back, and if you do lose a Greg Roman, right, it could make sense to have another coach in the pipeline just in case.
Mike, there is, as you know, and as you guys have talked about ad nauseum throughout the year on ESPN, the Lamar Jackson situation still looms over this franchise at the moment, and it's kind of complicated here. Another injury that they're dealing with, the fact that he hasn't played particularly well these last couple of weeks. I still keep trying to say to everybody that it's kind of irrelevant, right? Like this is not how the quarterback position works when it comes to contracts. Like there's a market. You're either going to pay that number or you're not. There's no going back and negotiating and saying, well, but you missed 2 weeks this season. Am I right by that? And what do you make of this thing still looming over everything that the Ravens are kind of doing at the moment?
Yeah, look, I think they should try to get the deal done, but it didn't, and now they're both doing the best they can to try to move forward. I think Lamar's really handled it well. Candidly, way better than I could have. I think has a great air about him, and I give him a lot of credit, and hopefully they can find a solution after the season.
Have you noticed anything in his play that it's been brought up by a few folks, some former players, guys that I respect, that have said there's something about him that it just looks like it's in the back of his mind, the contract thing. Have you noticed any of that as you watch the Ravens this season?
No, I think he's played pretty good, not perfect. Made a couple of mistakes. I thought, a couple of mistakes in the Giant games were really bad. But look, if you were just saying every player on the plan's a free agent and we're going to have a draft, he'll be one of the top 5 players picked, like might take Mahomes and Josh Allen before him and maybe 1 or 2 others. But, if you were starting a franchise, he'd be one of the top 5. And I don't think anybody would really push back. I mean, you can have great discussions of, is it Joe Burrow or is it Dak Prescott? Is it maybe, Jalen Hurts? But somewhere, between 4 and 6, he's there. So,
yeah.
And look, Josh Allen's made some mistakes this year. Patrick Mahomes has made some mistakes.
Yep.
Herbert's Gilbert's taking a half step back. Tua's taking a half step forward. So those things are going to continue to evolve. He's a great player that every time he touches the ball, be it with his arm or his legs, he creates a lot of problems for the opposing defense.
What would you do if his hard line is fully guaranteed, and you're the Baltimore Ravens, and there's still only one team that's done it, and they've been treated like pariahs for making that decision? If his hard line is fully guaranteed, what do you do at this point in this offseason?
You try to find common ground and say, hey, here's 10 contracts that aren't fully guaranteed.
Man, if it's a hard line, though, you know what I mean? Mike, let me present the scenario. If his hard line is fully guaranteed, and the Ravens' hard line is we can't do that, is there a point this offseason where you have to think about just poking around and seeing what teams would be willing to give you in a trade?
As a negotiator for over 20 years, I always find there's some solution in there. And obviously you're referring to the Deshaun Watson contract.
Yeah.
I would try to show him 20 contracts that aren't that way and try to use the facts to get him to a place where we could both live to fight another day.
It still seems very strange, right? Because quarterback contracts, he's going to get his money, right? Like this is the way that this works. They're not going to be cutting Lamar Jackson at some point during this contract. It's sort of the kind of crazy part about fully guaranteed on both sides is wink, wink, nudge, nudge. It's going to be guaranteed anyway, isn't it?
Well, for the first couple of years it will be, and then there's other things like injury guarantees. So a substantial portion of it's going to be guaranteed, but really what they're arguing over is probably the fourth and the fifth year and the guarantees in those years.
All right, Mike Tannenbaum, a very busy man. Of course, I know it's at Real Tannenbaum on Twitter. I know you've been doing stuff for a few other places as well besides when we see you on ESPN. Is there anything in particular we can plug for you?
Yeah, the 33rd Team. If you go to 33rdteam.com, it's a platform where a lot of current players, former players, current and former coaches share their experiences, and it's great football content. So I appreciate you asking.
Absolutely. Mike Tannenbaum, appreciate taking the time for us. Very happy holidays to you and your family. Look forward to doing it again in the future.
Okay, thanks so much.
ESPN analyst and former NFL GM Mike Tannenbaum with us here on GCR. Today's show brought to you by the Baltimore area Chick-fil-A restaurants. If you're looking for a simple holiday meal, try Chick-fil-A catering. From Chick-fil-A nuggets to mac and cheese, enjoy a variety of tray options sized perfectly for your get-together. Order through the Chick-fil-A app and bring smiles to your family gathering. Availability and order requirements vary. See restaurant for details. I wasn't able to get Mike to sort of pin down on something. He was evasive a bit on some of those things. What if it's a hard line? I'm going to try to do something else. And I get his point. His point is it's absurd for this to be a hard line. There's no reason for this to be a hard line. And the silly things that we were talking about with Drew yesterday, it just can't happen. There's got to be a way to have some bend. There's got to be a way to have some flexibility here in order to make this work. But I've said before, if the hard line is fully guaranteed, if for whatever reason it's just hellbent, fully guaranteed, there's no – this is nonsense to think there's some sort of argument here. You're paying Lamar Jackson all the money anyway. You're just worried about somebody else being mad at you in a meeting. Get the entire F out of here. I think the Ravens did right, as I've said all along, to say, okay, but we're not going to do it today. It bought them time to see if other teams and other quarterbacks did similar deals, and if via those similar deals, the pressure became far less on them. Two other teams do fully guaranteed quarterback deals, then that's just the market now. They don't have to worry about it. They can go ahead and sign something fully guaranteed with Lamar. If two other quarterbacks do deals that aren't fully guaranteed, then maybe you're able to go back and kind of break and say, look, this is not the market. It's not out there. Fully guaranteed isn't happening. So let's talk about something else. Buying time is no problem, but buying time has a limit. At some point, you have to have your quarterback. There's no scenario by which you're doing the wacky, well, maybe you could just draft another one. Absolutely. And maybe you could end up with Josh Rosen. And maybe you could end up with insert Zach Wilson, Daniel Jones. Drew trying to make it seem like Mac Jones. Imagine if this city lost Lamar Jackson and got Mac Jones. It would burn.
Maybe they get like Hendon Hooker.
But you're just naming quarterback.
Yeah.
You have no idea if they're going to be any good or not. Everybody thought Josh Rosen was a really good quarterback. Now, nobody's saying you can't find another quarterback. It's the idea that you're going to mortgage your entire franchise hope over the idea that maybe you will. Because you're scared off by the words fully guaranteed, which again is what you're going to end up paying the guy anyway. It's theater of the absurd. It's nonsense. It's the dumb stuff we say because we want to think we're smarter than somebody else. There's only one way this can end. It's with Lamar Jackson staying in Baltimore. If the cost of that is fully guaranteed, you do everything in your power to prevent it. But if it is, so be it. So be it. He's getting his money anyway. We come back in. It's going to be time for us to make some picks. We will have Ken Zalis join us. I need a better week this week. Got a lot more NFL games because only one college game this week, obviously. That's on the way. It's Glenn Clark Radio. Looking for a simple holiday meal? Try Chick-fil-A catering. From Chick-fil-A nuggets to mac and cheese, enjoy a variety of tray options sized perfectly for your get-together. Order through the Chick-fil-A app and bring smiles to your family gathering. Availability and order requirements vary. See restaurant for details.
UMBC basketball is back at Chesapeake Employers Insurance Arena, and tickets are available now at UMBCretrievers.com. Don't miss any of the great early season matchups as the men take on local rivals Morgan State on December 10th, and the women square off with American on December 18th. And on New Year's Day, a rematch of last year's America East Championship game when the men welcome Vermont to the Peak. Experience the excitement of game day by getting your tickets right now to come see the Retrievers at Chesapeake Employers Insurance Arena. Lock yours in at UMBCretrievers.com.
Come experience Maryland's #1 sportsbook this NFL season at the FanDuel Sportsbook at Live Casino and Hotel, the ultimate place for any sports enthusiast. Take advantage of our 24/7 kiosks, massive video screens, and watch all the action from the best seat in the house. With more money paid out than anyone around, make every moment more at the new FanDuel Sportsbook at Live Casino and Hotel in Hanover, Maryland. Please play responsibly. Gambling problem? Please call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit mdgamblinghelp.org.
The Baltimore County Police Department is hiring. Entry-level officers start at close to $59,000 a year with a $10,000 bonus. Some restrictions apply. Plus a great retirement plan, medical, dental, and vision insurance, advancement to specialized units, tuition reimbursement, 15 sick days earned per calendar year, and even further incentives for military members and veterans. If you have a passion for service and want a career for life, visit joinbaltimorecountypd.com or call 410-887-5542. You must be a United States citizen, possess a valid driver's license, and have a high school diploma or GED equivalent. The Baltimore County Police Department is an equal opportunity employer.
Make the most out of every day in your Toyota RAV4. Available in hybrid or gas-only models. A RAV4 can get you where you want to go in style. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new RAV4s from your local Toyota dealer today.
The latest edition of Press Box is available now. On the cover, New Maryland basketball coach Kevin Willard sits down with Stan Charles and Glenn Clark to discuss the situation he inherited in College Park and how he plans to get the program turned around. Also, inside, we introduce you to men's and women's college basketball players from all of the teams in the area. And Bo Smoka profiles Ravens receiver Devin Duvernay. Press Box is available for free at over 500 area locations, including 60 Royal Farm stores, and you can always find the entire edition as well as the best daily coverage of the Orioles, Ravens, and Terps at PressBoxOnline.com.
Experience the best in Kamado Grilling, a complete outdoor cooking appliance. The Ginsu Kamado Grill allows anyone to sear, grill, bake, and smoke all types of food. Designed for efficiency and function, the Ginsu Kamado Grill upholds the enduring legacy of the iconic Ginsu brand. The Ginsu Kamado Grill is perfect to cook all year round, is great for parties, and ideal for tailgating with your friends. Reserve your Ginsu Kamado Grill today at ginsugrills.com and get $100 off on your pre-order when you use the promo code code TAILGATE. That's ginsugrills.com. Reserve yours today.
Join Glenn at halftime of every Ravens game for the Project Game Day halftime show at facebook.com/PressBoxSports. We apologize in advance. There's not much we can do about his face.
Back in here on GCR. Today's show also brought to you by the Tyus Bowser Show, which returns next Tuesday night, December 13th. We will be at the Hamilton Sports Bar and Grill on Harford Road with Tyus and a special guest. Tyus Bowser Show is a partnership with PressBox and Grade 8's Memorabilia. It's brought to you by Maryland Vascular Specialists and the all-new Ginsu Kamado Grill. Find out more by going to PressBoxOnline.com/Bowser. Hope to see you next Tuesday night at the Hamilton Sports Bar and Grill for the next Tyus Bowser Show. Two things quickly before we get into picks. I haven't said anything this morning about Brittany Griner. I'm glad that Brittany Griner is coming home, and that's the extent of anything I have to say about it. And I don't know enough. It ain't worth it. The majority of you have no effing clue what you're talking about. I mean, not even a tenth of a clue. You're just talking out of your ass. I'm glad that Brittany Griner is coming home. Brittany Griner. Phew. I'm glad that Brittany Griner is coming home. Harrowing experience. Absolutely shameful. I'm glad that she's coming home. That's the list of things I have to say about the topic. Desmond Ridder is going to start for the Falcons. Why not? It will be quite alarming. Desmond Ridder makes a couple starts, all of a sudden looks really good, and the Ravens have to play the Falcons in a couple of weeks. I don't expect that. I think there's still limitations to what the Falcons are capable of doing, but it would just be quite ironic, wouldn't it, if all of a sudden Desmond Ridder gets in there and looks like he's a thing. All right, let's make our picks for the week. Joining us as he does every Thursday, he is our friend, Mr. Ken Zalis, and he's back with us here on GCR. KZ, what's going on, pal?
Not much. I thought you were going to introduce me as foreign policy expert because that's what we all are today.
All of a sudden, everybody knows everything there is to know about foreign. God. There are so many times where you can just say nothing. Nothing at all about a topic. We just don't ever choose to.
Just say exactly what you said. I'm glad she's coming home.
That's it. List of things.
That's it.
End
the end of it.
End of it. I'm so glad that Brittany Griner is coming home. I'm grateful for that. End of list. Now, to you.
Yes.
Do you really want to choose this violence? Is this really something that you want to do in your life?
What's this?
What you can't come in on the 22nd. What is your story next Thursday?
What's next Thursday? Let me look at it.
That would be the 15th. Would be the date.
Yeah, I can make that work.
So you really want to make this the side bet for the week?
Oh, I was just sending it to you.
I'm just out here funning.
I wasn't
just out here funning. He says.
I was just leaving it there.
Ken Zalis
for you to see.
Texts me yesterday a picture of wherever he found this. I don't know, but everyone involved should be sent. They should be sent for hate crimes. They should be sent. They should spend some time in Russian prisons. He sent me a picture.
Since it's just a shot, sure, why not?
All right, I guess we're doing it. KZ sends me a picture of the tapeworm shot. I will forward this to Griffin so he can take a look. The tapeworm shot is 1 ounce of vodka, which, by the way, is about 1 more ounce of vodka than I've consumed all year long. 1 ounce as well of mayonnaise. Now, I think maybe we should mix it up and do a little bit more mayonnaise and a little less vodka because I think that makes it.
Vodka and mayonnaise.
Vodka? This is like, dude. Plus, just make it how it is.
Plus dashes of Tabasco and black pepper. That is the tapeworm shot, which is named because it looks like there's a tapeworm swimming around in your shot. It is one of the grossest things I've ever seen in my life.
Thanks, Ken.
Loser
I apologize.
or losers next week. Now, first of all, I do believe that by next week I will have the Speedo and the bodysuits, so I should be able to pay off my bet.
So hopefully,
week.
so you I
might be doing both. Exactly right. I might be paying off both. So our side bet for the week is the tapeworm shot. We will see if retroactively any of the other boys choose to get in on this. Tapeworm shot, ounce of vodka, ounce of mayo, dashes of Tabasco, and black pepper. That's what the loser will have to do. Or losers. Again, if we all three go 6-3 this week, we're all losers.
Should I just email everyone right now? Or
You can if you'd like. You want me to forward this to you?
Yes.
I will forward this to you right now. All right. God, this is so dumb. I hate the fact that we're doing this. We got to move along. We got to get into picks quickly. Picks are brought to you this week by Glory Days Grill, where the winter seasonal menu is the Comfort Classic menu, including the twisted ribs and wings combo with 2 pounds of meat, the winter spinach salad, the citrus salmon, the mac and cheese bites, the bourbon butter cake. Griffin, the bourbon butter cake.
Oh, my God. It's so good.
When you have to understand, when you have a catchphrase, you've got to be ready and willing to deliver your catchphrase. Pair it with a blood orange bourbon cider or a devil's backbone cranberry smash. GloryDaysGrill.com is the website for you to get your order in. We've reached the part where no one's even sniffing 500 any longer after my disastrous week a week ago. John Proctor in first place now at 58-62. I mean, this is by far the worst season of picks we've ever had. He is a game in front of myself and Kyle Ottenheimer at 57-63. KZ, Paul, and Griffin are all 2 games back at 56-64, and Andrew Stecca is the worm. I think that's all we need to say. He is still 10 games back, 8 games back of Vice Worm. He did not send me his picks, however.
Yes, I have
today.
them. I do have
Interesting.
them. Yeah.
Interesting that's the case.
See if the strategy pays off. For me to help you.
Right. I hope. All right. Very good. Let's get into it.
First game in Philadelphia at Lincoln Financial Field between Navy and Army. It is the Army-Navy game. Navy is a -2.5 favorite. 3 o'clock on CBS.
I feel like Army started as a favorite, and when I like that a lot more than this. Look, this of course reeks of 13-10. Who has 13? Who has 10? The hell, I picked against Navy enough, and they proved me wrong. They're coming off their best win of the year. They've had 2 weeks to get ready for it. Navy.
I said, because I knew we were going to pick this game. Obviously, whoever was getting points, I was taking the points because these games are always close. And they know each other so well. And even if somebody is way up, it seems like they come back and make it a close game. I'm just going to take the points and take Army.
Yes, Griffin? That's where what is going on over there?
You come in.
Griffin, we gotta go, man.
I'm on Navy as well. I mean, I thought one time I picked against them. They got me for it. So I'm sticking with Navy. We got everyone on Navy except for Ken and Andrew Stecca.
Oh no! Terrible start to the week. Yeah.
To the NFL, first of 8 NFL games we'll be picking.
Although in fairness, Stecca was way better than I was last week.
Yeah. I know, so maybe I should be worried since I'm on the same side as Glenn.
Might not be good news.
Tonight on Prime Video, Las Vegas Raiders at the Los Angeles Rams. The Rams are getting 6.5 at home against the Vegas Raiders.
This stinks, right? Because of course you want to take the Raiders. They're playing good football right now. The Rams are starting Bryce Perkins and might at some point turn to Baker Mayfield as their quarterback. They're a disaster. Of course you want to take the Raiders. But then you have to deal with the fact that it's 6.5 points on the road on Thursday night. It's awful. Everything about that is awful. You're not supposed to pick a team that's a touchdown favorite on the road on Thursday Night Football. But I can't pick the Rams. Raiders is the pick.
Yeah, everything you said is right. But Baker's thrown exactly 0 passes to his teammates because of when he got there in the Thursday night game. He's been a part of a walkthrough. I don't know what part of the offense he'll actually know. And the way it's looking and everything that's coming out of there, he's probably going to play over half this game because everybody's hurt. The last I heard is Wolford.
Oh, yeah.
Is it Wofford?
It's Wolford who's hurt, yes.
Is hurt, and they're going to try him pregame. But I'm taking Vegas. I hate it, but I'm taking Vegas.
I'm taking Vegas as well. It is a clean sweep. Nobody is touching
not
the
even
Rams
Henry
tonight.
Stecca. I get it, but boy, it's a touchdown on the road on Thursday night.
Rams already lost one on Thursday at home.
All right, we got to keep moving.
By more than 7. Browns at the Bengals. Bengals minus 6.5 against the Brownies.
6.5. Bengals.
Yeah, they're playing good football. I'll take the Bengals as well.
I will take the Bengals as well. We have one taker of the Cleveland Browns. Kyle Ottenheimer will be lone wolfing.
How about
on
that?
Deshaun
Well, remember, he
Watson.
once picked the Browns to go 16-0 or something like that, and they went 0-16.
Yeah.
Why did he do that?
It wasn't 16. He for no reason at all. Kyle would get these things where he just had to be right about something. And so he would just yell,
picked a team to
and
be
so he'd
16-0.
just yell about it, and he'd be like, "The Browns are going to win 6 games this year," and I'd be like, I think maybe I'd even said 8, and I was like, "What? Why are you so? What is that?" And I think their quarterback was Cody Kessler or something. It was terrible.
Kaiser.
He was just in love with Josh. He was drunk on Josh Gordon, and he was in love with the Browns. They didn't win a game. They went 0-16.
Next up, Jets at the Buffalo Bills. Minus 9.5 for the Buffalo Bills.
I don't love that line. I mean, I get it. It's the Bills, but the Bills have been mostly playing close games. The Jets have, obviously looked better. I know they didn't win last week. I don't think I can. I think I have to take the points here. I think I do. Jets.
Yeah, this was close for me. I just can't. At home, Buffalo, they can put up points. I know the Jets' defense has been better, but, I mean, I just feel Buffalo can run away and hide in the first half in this one. So I'm going to take the Bills.
I'm going to take the Bills as well. I feel like, their offense is way better than the Jets. I'll take the Bills. So myself, Paul Valley, KZ, and I thought somebody else, I guess. Yeah, it's just us. Okay. John, Kyle, and Stetka, along with Glenn on the Jets.
Terrible news.
Yeah.
Everything was good. By the way, the Bills on the season have won 3, 4. Okay, so if you take away weeks 1 and 2, they've won 2 games by double digits.
Okay, that's enough for me. That's enough.
Just don't. I don't
make it 3.
Okay, we'll see.
Vikings at the Lions. Stinky line. Lions minus 2.5. They're at home against the Vikings.
You say it's a stinky line. It's not really a stinky line if you dive in a little bit long. This doesn't reek of this is still the Lions being America's team and everybody loving them because they were on Hard Knocks. This is analytically the Vikings being maybe the worst 2-loss team in the history of football, right? Analytically, there's nothing that you keep doing a deep dive on the Vikings, and you're like, what is going on here? Meanwhile, the Lions, we all know, have played really well recently. Still, all that being said, it's a 1 p.m. Kirk Cousins game, so give me 1 p.m. Kirk Cousins. I'm taking the Vikings.
Yeah, 1 p.m. Kirk Cousins, and I'm getting points. I know America wants this Lions to be a thing. They're exciting. They're playing well. They throw the ball all over the place, put up lots of points, but their defense still stinks, and the Vikings' offense is pretty darn good. So I'll take the Vikes.
I feel a lot worse about this pick now. I'm going with the Lions because, a couple weeks ago when they had the Cowboys favored in Minnesota, and then they ended up blowing them out by 40. So I was gonna trust Vegas, so I'm taking the Lions, and the only person with me is Andrew Stetka.
Oh.
Everybody's on the Vikings.
Was it really just me and Stetka? It wasn't just me and Stetka on the Jets, correct? Somebody else.
It was no. It was also Proctor and Kyle.
All right, yeah. Both John and Kyle were also. Whoever is updating the sheet right now, John and Kyle were also on.
It's me, Paul.
I guess that means it must be Stetka who's updating the sheet.
Yeah.
Yes.
Me, Paul, and Ken on the Bills.
Thank you.
And then just me and Stetka on the Lions. Then moving to also in the 1 o'clock window, Eagles at the Giants. Giants are getting 6.5 at home against the Eagles.
I want to bite. I do. I really want to bite here. Because I know the Eagles played extraordinarily well on Sunday, but it seemed like there was something about the A.J. Brown revenge game that was a factor there. I really wish I could bite. I'm probably going to end up regretting it, but I can't. Give me the Eagles.
I'm right there with you. I even put maybe on my thing, on my little sheet to Griffin. Because divisional games and all that fun stuff, they tend to be close. But Philly's just, they're good. I mean, people can say what they want. They're just good, and their offense is good, and Hurts may be the MVP. I'll take Philly.
Yeah, I'm taking the Eagles as well. Everyone is on the Eagles. No one biting on the Giants. Clean sweep for Philly.
And they're the best team in football at the moment. Yeah. I mean, I guess I get it, but wow, it's a touchdown on the road against a decent team.
The game of the week on Fox at 4:25, Buccaneers and Tom Brady at the San Francisco 49ers and Brock Purdy.
Yeah.
Niners still laying 3.5.
And Josh Johnson, don't forget that. They also have Josh Johnson.
Might have him as
and they this is the thing. They played with Brock Purdy. It'd be one thing if Jimmy Garoppolo got hurt late in last week's game and you were like, God, now they got to play Purdy next week. Brock Purdy played last week and played well. I'm not a full believer that he's going to be a rock star all season long, but they only need him to do so much. It's this bit that we're talking. It's not like Jimmy Garoppolo was being asked to kill it. He was being asked to not screw it up. I know he's better than anything we should reasonably expect from Brock Purdy, but with a Buccaneers team that even in a win on Monday night still looked lethargic and lost, I can't do it. I have to bite on the 49ers here. I have to.
Yeah, I'm going to as well. Purdy looked good enough. And like you said, I mean, they have so many other weapons. And one of the things that came out of that game was that, sort of expect from a rookie quarterback playing for the first time in the NFL, a lot of checkdowns. Well, by the way, they have Mr. Checkdown, the best check down option in football in McCaffrey.
Yep.
It's never a bad idea. And Tampa, I don't know, that team's just lost all offensive talent in the world, and they can't get out of their own way. 49ers defense should shut them down pretty easily. I'll take the 49ers.
Hey, before you tell us the rest of the picks, I need to remind everybody today's show is also brought to you by the all-new Ginsu Kamado Grill. Use the code TAILGATE at GinsuGrills.com. Save $100 when you pre-order your Ginsu Kamado Grill. It would make a wonderful holiday present for someone in your life. Again, GinsuGrills.com.
Sunday Night Football.
No,
I need my pick. Yeah, you're right. I need my pick. I'm also on the 49ers.
Hey, Griffin, did you do drugs this morning?
No.
What is going on today? And everybody else's pick.
I'm on the 49ers. Glenn's on the 49ers. We have 3 takers of the Bucks. It is Paul, Kyle, and Andrew Stetka.
I have picked every game the same as John Proctor. There is no way right now for me to close the gap.
Sunday Night Football, NBC, Dolphins at the Chargers. Chargers are getting 3.5 at home against Miami.
It is the only pause I have about this game, is that no one leads a late cover drive like Justin Herbert leads a late cover drive. I mean, he is the king of they get the ball back down 10. He can't move. His ribs are busted open. His guts are spilling onto the field. And he heroically delivers a drive to get them back within 3 points. Like, there is no one in the league that leads a cover drive like Justin Herbert leads a cover drive. Miami.
I'm not going that deep into it. For some reason, the Chargers are not good this year.
Yeah, I'm on Miami as well. So is everyone else. It is a clean sweep for the Miami Dolphins. Yeah.
Too many sweeps this week.
Yeah, there are.
Yeah, a lot of sweeps this week.
Well, this is what happens when we have to start picking 8 NFL games. We just can't pick. We can't pick all the best ones. We have to pick anything that's even redeemable at some point.
Finally, Ravens at Pittsburgh. Ravens' first trip to Acrisure.
Oh,
now that it's Acrisure. Right. That one's at 1 o'clock. Kevin Harlan on the call. Steelers are laying 2.5. They're the favorites against the Ravens.
So this is the part where I'm supposed to say, hey, if you give a good team points, then you should take the good team with the points. But I haven't had a good feeling about this game all week. Pittsburgh is the pick.
And it's probably the smart pick. But I'm going to take the Ravens because of their defense. And I saw something that maybe we'll see a little bit more with Huntley, but I saw them actually trying to put wide receivers on the field and throw to them from time to time.
When?
No, they had more 3 wide receiver sets when he went into the game. I don't know why, because I have a bad feeling the rest of the way, because I don't expect Lamar back for at least 3 weeks, and none of the games are easy at this point. Say what you want about Atlanta. They play everybody close. But I'm going to take the Ravens. I'm going to take the points. All these games are close no matter who the quarterbacks usually are. So if I'm getting points, and I'll take the team with points.
Yeah, I feel the same way. I don't have a great feeling for the Ravens, but I'm going to be there, and I'm going to be rooting for the Ravens hard, so I'll take the Ravens. And Glenn, you are lone wolfing it.
Woo!
You are.
Wow.
Oh, boy, that is right. You guys haven't learned your lesson from the last few weeks.
I guess not.
Wow.
Guess not.
I get it.
Yeah.
They're getting points. It is different this time. There's no doubt about that. They could lose 16-14, and it'd be a spectacular cover for you guys. It would be an excellent cover. All right, very good. Those are our picks. We'll get them up at glennclarkradio.com. Hey, if anyone in our crew hasn't paid me yet, I've got way too much money coming in for these charity things. I need you to just figure it out on your own. It's way too hard for me to go back and look now and figure out who paid me and who didn't pay me. I feel like somebody, maybe 2 people, didn't pay me in our crew. You figure it out. You get it handled. It's not.
Can we call them out?
I don't remember who it is. That's the problem. I would.
I did.
You did. Ken did for sure. I know Kyle Ottenheimer did because it was Bizarro World. He never pays me up front.
Well, so that leaves by process of elimination.
I just don't remember. I don't remember who paid and who didn't pay. So just if you didn't pay. At Fans
Can I get an itemized email for all my charity donors?
Yeah, right. Ken has gotten in on everything we've done. He got in on the World Cup. He got in on the Bowl Pick'em. He got in on the raffle. Ken, unlike some of you, Ken is a good person. I say that now until I'm sipping a tapeworm shot now. Oh, by the way, this is going to come down to the Ravens for sure. Now that I know both of you have picked against it, this will all come down to the Ravens and what happens on Sunday.
Yeah, Kyle's already declined. Paul thought it was a real tapeworm at first.
What?
Oh, God.
What is going on? All right. KZ, love you, buddy. We will see you in here next Thursday. All right.
Yes, I'll see you next Thursday.
Sounds good. It's Ken Zalis joining us for picks this week. I don't have the words for what you just said. I don't have the words for that. All right, today's show also brought to you by the print issue of Press Box. Final week and a half or so for you to get this print issue of Press Box before it's gone, Daddy gone, the love is gone, to make way for our Best of 2022 issue. So go get this one with Kevin Willard on the cover right now at your neighborhood Royal Farms, any of the hundreds of locations around town where you find Press Box, or read it all, PressBoxOnline.com. When we come back in, Tidbit, Tubular, and Weekend at Bookies, that's on the way. Glenn Clark Radio.
Gambling can be a fun and entertaining experience, but there are risks involved. If you're planning on betting on the game at the casino or on your phone or computer, know your limit, stay within it. Set a budget and a time to stop. Remember, gambling isn't a financial solution, and it doesn't mix well with alcohol or drugs. Know the risks and have a plan before you begin gambling. For free and confidential services, call 1-800-GAMBLER 24/7 or go to helpmygamblingproblem.org.
Experience the best in Kamado Grilling, a complete outdoor cooking appliance. The Ginsu Kamado Grill allows anyone to sear, grill, bake, and smoke all types of food. Designed for efficiency and function, the Ginsu Kamado Grill upholds the enduring legacy of the iconic Ginsu brand. The Ginsu Kamado Grill is perfect to cook all year round, is great for parties, and ideal for tailgating with your friends. Reserve your Ginsu Kamado Grill today at ginsugrills.com and get $100 off on your pre-order when you use the promo code TAILGATE. That's ginsugrills.com. Reserve yours today.
UMBC basketball is back at Chesapeake Employers Insurance Arena, and tickets are available now at umbcretrievers.com. Don't miss any of the great early season matchups as the men take on local rivals Morgan State on December 10th, and the women square off with American on December 18th. And on New Year's Day, a rematch of last year's America East Championship game when the men welcome Vermont to the Peak. Experience the excitement of game day by getting your tickets right now to come see the Retrievers at Chesapeake Employers Insurance Arena. Lock yours in at umbcretrievers.com.
Join the Maryland Jockey Club at Laurel Park for Christmastide Stakes Day on Monday, December 26th. An exciting day of live horse racing awaits you with a whopping 6 stakes races worth $600,000 in prize money. Plus, enjoy a specially curated stakes buffet, a delicious hot chocolate bar, and hot cider cocktails. It may be cold, but Laurel Park has plenty of horse racing excitement, food, and beverages to keep you warm. Don't miss Christmastide Stakes Day at Laurel Park. Visit laurelpark.com for more info.
Another Orioles season is in the books, and the Bat-Around was there every step of the way as the Birds posted their first winning season in 6 years. And after promoting 2 #1 overall prospects in Adley Rutschman and Gunnar Henderson, Mike Elias has said it's liftoff from here. Hi, I'm Paul Valley, and along with my co-host Zach Goodman, we'll be here every Saturday from 10 a.m. to noon all off season, discussing every signing, trade, and waiver claim as we navigate the cold winter months that lead to spring training. You can watch us at youtube.com/PressBoxOnline and Facebook.com/PressBoxSports, or listen live at PressBoxOnline.com/radio. And if you miss a show, you can find us anywhere you get your podcasts. So tune into the Bat-Around with Paul Valley and Zach Goodman every Saturday from 10 a.m. to noon right here at PressBox Sports.
Whether your focus is luxury and comfort, convenience and technologically advanced connectivity, or sporty performance and aggressive styling, we've got the perfect Highlander for you. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new Highlanders from your local Toyota dealer today. If you can't listen or watch live, you can subscribe to the show via Spotify, Amazon, or Apple Podcasts. Leave a 5-star review while you're there. Or, if lying isn't your thing, we'll take a 3.5-star review too.
Tonight on Facebook Live, 8 o'clock, Stan the Fan Charles, Gary Stein, and Tom Strickler, local basketball recruiting expert. We'll talk about what Kevin Willard has done as far as not just recruiting, but sort of doing everything, all the effort that he's put into the Maryland basketball program. That's tonight, 8 o'clock, Facebook.com/PressBoxSports. You'll be able to see it tomorrow, PressBoxOnline.com/video or YouTube.com/PressBoxOnline. All right, let's get a tidbit. Tidbit is brought to you by the Baltimore County Police Department. Coming up this Saturday, big event at the Timonium Fairgrounds. You want to join the Baltimore County Police Department for a community hiring event and toy and food drive. If you, someone you know, is looking to change your career path, police officer starting salary right now in Baltimore County, $60,686, plus the $10,000 signing bonus. If you know someone who's seeking some direction, a young person, a cadet starting salary, $32,611. Great opportunity for you to kind of be the change you want to see, make a difference in the community. Join BaltimoreCountyPD.com. But this is far more than just a hiring event. It is also, as we mentioned, a food drive and a toy drive to benefit those who need it this holiday season. So please, even if you're not looking to a new career, swing by the fairgrounds this Saturday from 2 to 6 and bring an unwrapped toy, non-perishable food item. If you can't make it to the fairgrounds, then through next week you can stop by any of the Baltimore County Police precincts, as well as Glory Days Grill here in Towson with your non-perishable food items and unwrapped toys. What you got?
All right, so Brady now holds the most fourth quarter
Brady.
Yes, Tom Brady. Yeah, most fourth quarter comebacks in NFL history.
It'd be great if it was Brady Anderson.
After you think he has a lot of fourth quarter comebacks? But with 44. So can you tell me? I mean, the top 10. You should be able to get the top 10. But I guess as many as you can in the time that we have here. How many of the top 10
fourth quarter
most
comebacks
fourth
at
quarter
all?
comebacks in NFL history.
NFL history,
Yes.
top 10.
So Tom Brady is number 1 with 44. Who did he pass?
Brett Favre.
Brett Favre is not in the top 10.
Unsurprising.
He is right outside. He is 28 at 13.
Peyton Manning.
Peyton is who Tom passed, 43 for the Sheriff.
Dan Marino.
Dan Marino is 8th, 33 for Dan Marino.
Drew Brees.
Drew Brees is also on the list, 5th, 36 for Brees.
Aaron Rodgers.
Aaron Rodgers not in the top 10.
How about
21?
Ben Roethlisberger.
Roethlisberger is in the top 3, 41 for Ben Roethlisberger, right behind
It's
Manning
not
and
that
Brady.
surprising. It always felt like he was
behind.
It really did. John Elway.
Elway is right in there, 9, 31 for Elway.
Jim Kelly.
Jim Kelly is not in the top 10. He is lower.
Troy Aikman.
Not Aikman.
Joe Montana.
Joe Montana. Where's my? I saw. He's outside the top 10. 26.
Steve Young.
Not Steve Young.
Phil Rivers.
Phil Rivers is 10. 29 for Phil Rivers.
Dan Fouts.
Not Fouts. Who are you missing?
Ken Stabler.
Not Stabler.
Jim Plunkett.
No.
How about
one more really old quarterback, and then 2 guys that are both in the league, but not starting.
I got 4
currently.
missing. Because Tom Brady was
Tom Brady
counts.
was one,
Okay,
yeah.
all right. Two guys that are not in the league.
They are in the league.
They are in the league,
but they
currently.
are
Joe Flacker's.
Not Joe Flacker's.
Matt Stafford's.
Yes, Matt Stafford has 34. He is 6th.
I didn't think that he won that many games, frankly. Matt Ryan.
Yep, Matt Ryan is 4th, 38.
And one really old quarterback. Namath. Unitas.
Johnny Unitas. 34 for Johnny Unitas as well, tied with Stafford.
Tubular is brought to you by PressBoxOnline.com/offers. Still great offers available to you, like $200 in free bets from DraftKings after placing your first $5 bet, or $1,000 in risk-free bets from BetMGM. But these will not last forever. PressBoxOnline.com/offers to get signed up today. And I feel like this is an appropriate time for me to remind you that gambling can be fun, but you should set a limit and stay within it. Remember, if you or a loved one has a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER 24/7 or go to helpmygamblingproblem.org for free confidential services. Here's what's coming up tonight, totally tubular-wise. Of course, Thursday Night Football on Amazon. Raiders, Rams. The Rams legitimately might have to play Baker Mayfield 24 hours after he became a Ram. But that's what it is. 8:15 tonight for Thursday Night Football. Big Ten Network, the Maryland women take on Purdue at 6:30. Michigan, Minnesota tonight at 9 on the men's side on BTN. ESPN2 has Rutgers, Ohio State at 7. Fox Sports 1 is Iowa State, Iowa at 8. The rest of the college hoops find at glennclarkradio.com. NBA TV, Clippers, Heat, 7:30. Nuggets, Blazers at 10. ESPN Plus and Hulu. Red Wings, Panthers at 7:30. Access TV, Impact Wrestling at 8. Non-sports highlight or two?
Not a whole lot. Steve Martin and Martin Short will be on Fallon.
And then hosting Saturday Night Live.
Yes, they are. Yes, they are. Back in the Groove season 1 finale. Where the 3 older women are with a bunch of young guys. The finale of that is already tonight on Hulu. And that's the only other highlight. Real Housewives of Miami premieres season 5 on Peacock and Bravo.
Sure, if you say so. All right. Thanks today to Kevin Harlan. Thanks also to Mike Tannenbaum. Thanks to Andy Katz, to Ken Zalis. We'll get all of it up in the greatest hits section of the tab at glennclarkradio.com. Tomorrow
we'll have Coach Trent Dilfer.
All right, so Stan will be here tomorrow. Trent Dilfer is going to join us tomorrow. He is now the former Ravens quarterback. He's now the head football coach at UAB. Bo will join us tomorrow,
Bo
correct?
will join us, and
Charlie Batch.
Charlie Batch
will join us tomorrow.
So is Diamond Miller. It's a busy show tomorrow.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Diamond Miller is going to join us tomorrow. She had an amazing shot last week. Hopefully they win again tonight. And is Miles Boykin?
Miles Boykin is also scheduled to join us. So
a lot going on tomorrow on the show.
We'll figure it out.
Shame we couldn't have spread it out during the week, but this is the way it works sometimes. All right, thanks to everybody at PressBox, all of our great sponsors and partners, the Baltimore County Police Department, Problem Gambling, Glory Days Grill, Royal Farms, Costa Sin, Maryland Jockey Club, Great Ace Memorabilia, Baltimore area Chick-fil-A restaurants, FanDuel Sportsbook at Live Casino and Hotel, Maryland Vascular Specialist, the all-new Ginsu Kamado Grill, UMBC Athletics, your local Toyota dealer, buyatoyota.com. Thanks to Griffin, at Griffin_Bass is how you follow him. Follow us, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, at Glenn Clark Radio. Have a great Thursday night. Go Maryland women. Duke sucks. Ohio State sucks too. When we come back in, we will have for you Weekend at Bookies. This has been GCR.